So, welcome, Gary, to our Leadership Life Lounge. It's a little bit of a different one today, but just to get started and introduce ourselves, because there's a lot of people on here that members of Gary's maybe and know Gary, but they might not know myself and my husband Nigel. So, I'm Amy Brooke, and this is my husband Nigel Brooke. So, we are the co founders of Leadership in Life Coaching. And we help organizations and individuals work on their leadership skills with a real emphasis on self-awareness and self-development and mindset as a starting point. Because we truly believe that when you really work on that, you naturally become a better leader as well. So we're excited today because we've opened this up to Gary's members as well, because we really do see the benefit from a real estate perspective as well on these skills. And Nigel and I, we're also real estate investors, and we've just started getting into the development space ourselves. And over the years, we've been in corporate the majority of our life, like leading teams in senior leadership roles. So we've developed the leadership skills within corporate, but we truly believe that those skills were so crucial to helping us in our real estate journey as well. And that's why we really wanted to open this up to everybody today. So welcome and thank you. And Gary, thank you for being here and being our guest today. This is very exciting.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me here. I'm excited to do this. I always love sitting down and having these type of conversations and sharing the story that I've had over the last, say 15 years of being an entrepreneur. It's been a fun ride. It's been an enjoyable ride, but it always hasn't been let's say a smooth ride. And I think that's just part of it, right? So, but it does shape you to be a person that becomes very resilient and to be able to pivot and adapt very quickly. That's the key to it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get going in the normal way. So we're going to do this in the normal flow that we do for our membership. And we're going to grill you with some questions, Gary. But
All right. All
to
Yeah,
right. Love it.
start,
I love it.
before we start, obviously a lot of people know you, Gary, out there, but there'll be some people that may not know
and
you,
our members
and
might
our
not, yeah.
members may not know you. So we'll start with the bio, just so everyone's got a picture of exactly who you are and what you've achieved.
Perfect.
So Gary Hibbert is a dynamic podcaster, seasoned realtor, investor, and inspiring public speaker. In 2008, Gary made a life-changing decision by purchasing his first investment property, a move that sparked his passion for real estate and set him on the path to financial freedom. After years of dedication, Gary left his full-time job in 2014 to become a full-time entrepreneur. Now, through his podcast, public speaking engagements, and real estate expertise, Gary is committed to empowering others to achieve the same transformation. His passion is helping individuals take control of their financial future by sharing his journey and inspiring others to follow in his footsteps.
It's quite the bio,
It's a
Gary.
great bio. And
Thank
just
you.
one thing before we start as well, Gary, that everyone that we speak to in real estate, whenever we mention Gary Hibbert, everybody's like, oh, such a nice guy.
Yeah,
Oh, we really like Gary. It's just one of those, some people, when you mention someone's name, there's that bit of silence and it's form your own opinion. But whenever we mention your name, it's always, oh, Gary, what a great guy. You always love being around Gary. So
yeah,
the bio's good, but I guess the reputation's even better.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I've tried my best to be a nice guy, and I think it's what
Working.
you, yeah, it's what you give out, you try to get back in return as well too. So that's why I always want to be as nice as I can and be as helpful as I can, but also to hold people to accountability as well too. I think that's incredibly important as well. So there's a way of doing that as being a nice guy as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here. And
Yes.
to kick it off, we are going to start with the question that we always ask our guests to start with. If you can give us a rundown from the beginning of what your career started off like and kind of how it evolved over time. And you've kind of talked a little bit about, when you got into real estate, but really, where did it start off from, like when you were younger and what you wanted to do, and what were the pivotal points along that journey?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. And I haven't had it asked like that in a very long time. So you know what? And I always like to try to change things up just in case people have heard my story before. But I think when I was younger, one of the things we used to live out in Durham region here out in Oshawa, and then we moved to Curtis. And at the time when we moved to Curtis, Curtis wasn't a place that was where it is today. It was very rural. And so one of the things that my parents had bought me was a telescope. And so I spent time looking at through my telescope at the moon. I actually had a map of the moon, and I would try to look at it and try to actually look to see if I could find that spot there on the moon through my telescope. But what it also did was it allowed me to start dreaming and to start looking at things from a different lens, at a wider lens of like, geez, I'm just this speck on Earth, and this world is so vast that why not dream to do something powerful with my life? And so that really started at the age of say around 15, 16. And and then around 19 or so, I met my wife. And then a couple of years later, we had our son. And then I had to get a better job. I was working at Canadian Tire. And so I got into TD Bank. And then to fast forward through that, what ended up happening was I had all these dreams and aspirations. And when I got to around 34, 35, I realized that I was behind in all my dreams, all my promises, all the things that I said that I wanted to achieve in life. And it was because I got caught up in, we'll call it the rat race, or I got caught up in the the daily routines of life, and I wasn't designing a life anymore. And I'll never forget this day. And I went into work and asked my coworkers like, how do we get out of this? How do we design a life? How do we? And they're like, well, maybe we'll play the lottery, or maybe we'll start this. But what I realized after asking all those questions was that I said, man, I can't wait until I retire. What a horrible thing to say to yourself, where I am now willing to wish away 30 years of my life because I can't wait till I'm 65 years old. And so if you use disgust or anger as jet fuel, you'd be surprised how powerful a fuel that can be as well too. And that's what I did at that age, is that I decided to use where I was and pain and use it as jet fuel and not make up any more excuses.
Mm, that's amazing. So going back to drilling back to before you had that revelation and kind of realized I didn't want to wait till you get to retirement age and that's it.
Yeah.
What did what was your kind of like journey, your career journey before that? And the reason why I drill into that piece is we really want to pull out your self-awareness journey on, and that's a great self-awareness kind of piece that you've just pulled out there. But really, what were the self-awareness pieces where you might have had to overcome some fears, doubts internally to make you a better person that then you could take on and actually that was useful in the rest of your career and being able to help you with the mindset to go ahead and do that and go into real estate and do what you wanted to do?
Well, I think along the ways, what I had was I think there were small little gentle reminders of mentors that I had that helped point me in the right direction. I remember I had a manager that when I was getting promoted to different levels throughout the my journey at the bank, one of the things that I remember him saying to me, which was very simple but yet incredibly powerful, was he said, one, don't trust your memory and don't try to remember everything. Just remember where to go and who to talk to. And so that's such a great thing to realize. Like, don't trust your memory because every time you always want to try to, but you don't. And so everything that I do in life is always written down, or it's always noted, or if I'm in the car, I'm always making some type of note. The other thing as well too that I did along the way is when I started getting into the mindset of believing in myself was I started listening to Jim Rohn. And listening to him, what I would do is when he would say something that was incredibly powerful, right? As opposed to trying to remember it, because going back to that mentor that I had was saying, don't trust your memory, was I would then stop it and then I would say it back and record it in my own voice. And I would, and it would be almost like a paraphrase. I would paraphrase what he said. And then what that would do was it allowed the teachings to then absorb into me much better because I would then go back and listen to it again. Now, by doing that, it now became my mindset. It became things that I would remember, like, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't ask for less problems, ask for more skills. Make the goal to become a millionaire, not for the money, but for the person you'll become to achieve it. And so these quotes became my quotes. And that is such a powerful thing when you can use quotes that have been spoken by incredible teachers over the last, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. Um, that now changes your trajectory in life.
Wow.
I think that's great, that Gary, what you mentioned there, because there's a lot of kind of talk out there about the compound effect as well, where you do something once, you don't get a result, but eventually, if you keep compounding and compounding, and it starts to stack, eventually you'll get that result. So a lot of people kind of quit if they don't get it early, like, oh, it's not worked. But if you just keep nibbling away at it, you kind of get that.
Yeah.
One other quick question I've got there, Gary, is I like to talk a lot about imposter syndrome and everything else because I think it's such a big part of my career. I always
Yeah.
thought, am I really good enough for my next role in corporate, or can I really achieve that? Or, it seems so far away. Has
Yeah.
there been any times when you were at TD or through your real estate journey, you thought, that just seems so far away? And how did you switch your mindset to think, no, it really is achievable?
Yeah. So what I did to switch my mindset so that it felt like it was actually really achievable was one of the things that I would do is I understood the importance of learning, doing, and teaching. Those are the three things that I really kind of keyed in on. The hard part is that, especially now in social media, and when you see other people doing incredible videos and you become a consumer, you then start to get this imposter syndrome, like, oh, they already said it, so I shouldn't do it. Oh, they're doing it better than me, so then I shouldn't do it. But what you've got to do is a great quote that I heard from Joe Rogan was post and ghost. And so I've become very good at posting and ghosting, meaning I'll record my video, I'll put it out there, and then I get out. When I go back in, I will click, I will like a few things because I also want to support the people that I'm following, but I do my best not to consume, number one. Number two, I put a timer now on Instagram and social media of an hour. You'd be surprised how fast you chew up an hour. And so when I started doing that, I'm like, wow, that is crazy. Because I thought I was just only posting, but obviously I was still was kind of consuming a bit. So that hour made such a huge difference. And then number three, here's a great tip for anybody who's listening, is a lot of times people have this fear of posting videos on social media, right? And sharing those tips or ideas. Here's what I recommend you do is do a video, put the phone up, record it, do your 30-second, do your minute, and then don't post. Do that every day for 30 days. I guarantee you will have content that you can now post. You will be way better at the end of 30 days. And then now you've got things that you can post and share. So, I think that helps get over the imposter syndrome. It's something that I've used that allows me to do it. But you will still fall back into it from time to time. And I know this because I'm human just like you guys are. I have the same fears of imposter syndrome. I have the same fears of rejection. I have the same fears of are people going to like what I just talked about? I have those same fears like anybody else does. I think people think that people that are at another level think that they don't have those fears, but they do. And when you sit down and you talk to them, they say the exact same thing. Fear is not something that you get rid of. Fear is something that you learn how to control.
Yeah, love that. And that's why these sessions are just so important because you hit the nail on the head there. People think that when somebody's become successful, that they were just naturally like that. They're born with confidence. They've never had a fear that they've had to get over. But everybody that we speak to on these sessions have overcome fears and doubts, and they've had tips and tricks that have helped them manage it. So yeah, that's amazing. Is there anything else, I guess, from the fear standpoint, from an earlier age that you had to really tackle, that you realized it was holding you back and it wasn't serving you? And again, like we talked about imposter syndrome, but for me personally, I was absolutely scared to death of public speaking. And
Hmm.
that was a huge thing for me to have to get over. and I had to just throw myself in there and do it. But is there anything back in the early days that you either had a fear of or that you recognized some part of your personality wasn't serving you and you had to kind of work on that?
That's a really good question. So yes. So what it is when you go up to do public speaking, your heart starts to race. That's everybody has that. Your palm starts to get a bit sweaty, or you get that lump in your throat, or that gut. It's you get it all.
All of them, Gary,
All
in
of
my
it, yeah.
Everybody gets it. So if anybody tells you that they don't, I don't know. And so number two, so what's really important about that was that I was like, I need to get rid of that, and that is incorrect. Like I said before, what you've got to do is understand that feeling, then control that feeling, and know that when that is happening, when you get that heart that is racing, is you're getting ready for peak performance. And so when you're ready for peak performance, if even if you were at the starting blocks at a race, you would still have that same feeling. And so what it's doing is it's giving you a shot of adrenaline to get you ready to be able to perform. So here's what I had to learn to do was that not say to myself in my mind that I am nervous, say to myself, I'm so excited. I am so excited that I think I might pass out. I can't believe how excited I am to be here. And so when you see some of the great speakers on stage, they say that as soon as they get on stage, like, I am so excited to be here. So they're using that energy to pump up themselves and also the crowd, as opposed to saying, "Hey, I'm happy to be here," or you just start talking into it. But you got to let people know, and you have to affirm that feeling. And so that's what I've learned over the years, that that is the best way to understand that feeling. It's overflowing into you, and just using that to your advantage. Like, so think about if that disappeared. That wouldn't be good, but it feels like it would be, but it wouldn't be.
That's probably the best answer I have ever heard to that,
It is,
isn't it?
and it's such a. I think it's our readers about this. It's like the fourth biggest fear of people. You know, like it's up there with like spiders and all the other kind of things. But it's such a big fear that cripples so many people.
Yeah, it's insane. I have one little tip that really helped me throughout my career when like it was about 15 years ago when I really started tackling public speaking. I'm like, this is really holding me back. But you know, kind of when people say you're doing presentations, it's not about you, it's about the audience.
Yeah.
Well, I really focused on that piece and I took that forward, not just in presenting, but in all different like areas of my career at the time, even speaking up in meetings and asking questions. So whenever I would go to do a presentation or walk into a meeting, I would not think about how I'm feeling inside or try not to by focusing on all the other people in that room. How are they feeling? What's going on in their world right now? And what can I do to add value to them or to help them come out of that room with clarity? And as soon as I did that switch, because I wasn't thinking about me and my thumping heartbeat as much, it helped me get through. Because once you get talking, you're usually okay then. So it kind of helped break that ice for me that I was focusing on other people.
That's a
So
great,
little
yeah, that's
tip
a great
that
tip.
Mm,
could help people if anybody struggles with that, which the majority of us do. So
we do.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, that really is. I'll add one last tip as well too, is the other thing I do when I do my presentations, and I know you've seen me speak before, is I try not to put too many words on the slide, and I do more pictures. And what I've found is that when I've got the pictures there, well, nobody knows what I'm going to say. And so even though I may rehearse it the week before, the night before, the day of, um, I go on stage and even I surprise myself what I say on every slide because I do say it slightly different. So I'm also excited to hear what I have to say on every slide.
Yeah.
And then and so then that way now nobody knows that you're messing up, but you have the general story of every picture that allows you to be able to present and not because you will always say it different. You won't be able to say it perfectly every single time. And I think that's another thing that I've learned over the years of doing presentations.
Yeah. I think another important part is it's everybody, well, certainly for me, it were always the panic of it has to be perfect. Everything I say, it has to be perfect and every line has to be on point. And I think to your point, if you just start switching it and thinking, these people need to hear the message and it's a great message and focus on that part instead of really trying to get into the detail of, you know, everything that's going to be on the slides.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question here, Gary, for you. Was
Yeah.
there a moment, either in your career or even like in real estate throughout your life, where when you've been observing somebody else, whether it's been an inspiring example or a difficult example, when you've been observing them, has it fundamentally changed how you approach your own self-leadership or how you would lead others?
So when I'm listening to somebody else,
Yeah, is there somebody that you can think of, or like a time, a person that how they approached life, leading people, communicating,
yeah,
how that fundamentally impacted you and made you change how you take that going forward. And it could be somebody that was inspiring or somebody that was,
yeah,
not inspiring and not helpful, but it was a
yeah.
moment that you took forward with you.
Yeah, it's a good question. So anybody that I'm listening to, whether it be a podcast or whether it be a live presentation, whatever it is, um, if there's something that resonates with me, I will never go into a presentation and listen to it. And if there's something that I like, not take it, not write it down. I'm like, ooh, and I will take it. Because why would I not go into something and not want to take that information? And so then it goes back to that key thing that I said right at the beginning is don't trust your memory. So when I was showing my wife all the notes that I have in my phone, she's like, "How do you have so many notes?" And it's because I want to be able to access all that information whenever I need to. And so I'm always, you can call it stealing, theft, but why not?
Borrowing.
I want it.
Following
I
on to
want the information because again, it goes back to those three things, key things, right? Learn, do, teach. So if I can learn it, well, then now I can take it and apply it and do it. And then if I do it, that I can teach it. And then when you combine those three things together, those things really last much longer because then I can access that stuff quicker, faster, and easier. So yeah, I'm always taking something away from everything. And even when I go to say presentations or I've learned this before, there's always something new that I pick up. Here's a great example. When I do podcasts and when I'm done, and if I go back and listen to it, sometimes it's like I wasn't even there. I'm like, I did that podcast, and I'm actually getting information that I forgot that I actually even talked about. So even the things that I'm saying sometimes you don't always remember, or that podcast that you did that you may not always fully remember. But as you're doing it, like that was a good point. That was a good point. And so I think you always need to be writing things down. There's something about writing things down that allows it to stay with you for a longer period of time.
Yeah, for me, writing it down is the only way I take it in. Somebody once said to me that when you go through the act of writing it down in your own handwriting, your brain actually can't focus on thinking about other things other than what you're writing down or something, and that's the reason why. I'm like, okay, sure, but it really does work. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I think that we should dive into a little bit now on kind of like the real estate journey.
Sure.
And we don't normally like in the Leadership Life Lounge, we have had a few people in the real estate world because Nigel and I are in the real
yeah.
estate world. And we truly believe that, like I said earlier, our skills from our corporate world were essential to helping us build a successful real estate portfolio as well. So just throwing a very open question to you, Gary, what would you say were the key skills that you brought along with you that really helped you in your real estate journey? And maybe like something along the lines of like empathy, skills like that, empathy, communication, integrity, around those buckets.
Yeah, I would say some of the key skills that I brought along from my previous job really was understanding the importance of systems and processes. It was really important. And when you see it done on a large scale, like, working at TD Bank at a corporate level, being able to understand the importance of reporting, the importance of meetings, the importance of doing all of those things or at a corporate level, when you can dial it down into something smaller, well, then you can be a lot more effective, a lot more efficient. But that's incredibly important. And so then now, as I grew my real estate portfolio, as I grew the different businesses that I've started, from Smart Home Choice to Deep Pockets to being a part of a brokerage, I've seen it at that large scale to saying, listen, at this level, we need to do these processes because if you don't, you can see how people fail. And also the key to being able to pivot and adapt very quickly. So those are some key things that I took away from TD,
And did,
and also being in IT. This is actually really important too. Was that there was three things that we focused on: was incident management, problem management, and change management. And so when you focus on when companies that are that big have that, is that it starts with a change. So anytime you're doing something, you're changing something. So whether it be purchasing of properties, okay, there's a change, there's something happening. But when you're going through that process and a problem happens, right? There's always problems. And then when those problems happen, then it creates an incident. Okay. And so then when that incident, sorry, it creates an incident. And then when that incident happens, then you have to have problem management to say what happened during that issue and how do we now never allow that to happen again. Right.
yeah, that risk assessment. Yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah. One thing I've got, Gary, just listening to talking there about systems and kind of flipping it a little bit. 85% of what everybody consumes on a daily basis is something negative, whether it be the news, food
Yeah.
prices, wars, whatever's going on in the world. How do you, and we see it in real estate, we see so many postings on what's happening on social media, and it's very rarely a great news story. What's your tricks to actually flipping that and trying to get as much of the positive in and kind of reduce the noise of the negativity?
Um, there's a couple of different things that I'll do. So in the morning, I love yoga. So that's one thing that really helps to
Me
silence the
too.
mind, to be able to try to put my leg close to my ears for whatever move that my teacher is trying to teach me. You forget about problems very quickly. You forget about what's happening in the world, and it's something hard to do. I think you should always try to do something hard in the morning. There's a great book by Brian Tracy called "Eat That Frog," and so do something difficult in the morning. Number two is if I don't do yoga, then I do have silent time in the morning. And I'm also trying to plan my day before I start my day. I always do that and figure out what are the two things or three things that I need to do no matter what, because there's a lot of noise out there. And you got to be able to cancel out that noise and focus on what is important that has to be achieved today. Because if not, your phone going off is an incident. And it could be as simple as an Instagram message or a messenger message, or so all those notifications, I turn all that stuff off. I don't get pulled into those negative things unless I decide that I want to go into those negative things. Because and so the only thing that's on right now is phone or text. That is it. There's nothing else that I get notified on. I don't even get notified on emails. I check my emails once a day, maybe twice. That is it. And when I reply, my replies are first thing in the morning, rarely ever throughout the day. So people now know that they will get a reply from me, but it is not going to be at 8 o'clock at night or any other time that they may want it. It is I schedule my day the way I want it to be designed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do see the negative things out there. It's not like I don't. I do understand what's happening in the war over in Iran. I see it all, but I choose to understand that they're out of my control, and so I only control what I can control, and that is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why we kind of ask that is because it's there's so many people that don't have that ability or don't know how to flip that, and it really can consume people and stop them in their tracks.
Yeah.
The progress is just halted because, like you say, they're trying to take on board something that's totally out of their control. But it happens so much, and we know why we've got it in his face all the time because that's what keeps people entertained and keeps people attached if it's negativity. But yeah, it's always interesting to try and find a different perspective on how we get positivity in there.
I think the biggest thing is that people just don't have the goals written down. I think it's such an important thing. I don't know if you can see a little bit in my background there. I've got my whiteboard there. It's incredibly important because without goals, here's a great example. Imagine driving to Florida from Ontario and not having a map or a GPS to get you there. That is how most people live. They're like, oh, this is where I want to go, but they don't have a map. They don't have anything kind of written down. So then how, so now you're driving like aimlessly because you need those goals to continue to allow you to understand where you're trying to get to, where you're trying to go. And the way that I think about it as well too is that it's like driving. You can even drive to Florida, even if you only have a little bit of the goals in front of you, which would be the headlights, just to see enough of the road ahead. That is enough to be able to get you to your destination, right? And I think that's where people miss the target. And then what I'll do, I'll share this is important as well, is that every year at the end of the year, I will check off what I completed. I maybe only achieve, say, 20 to 30%. However, I take a picture of it and I file it away. And then I will go back 3 or 4 years and I'll go back and I'm like, "Pff, check, check, check. It's incredible. It's incredible. I wrote down that I wanted a Sea-Doo in 2010 and then I got a cottage in 2017. It's like placing your order. You're placing your orders. And I forgot that I even wrote down I wanted a Sea-Doo. How do I even want a Sea-Doo when I didn't even have a cottage? It made no sense. But that's what I'm saying though. But you got to write down what you want. I think it's
Yeah.
incredibly important.
Yeah, and
And
even like I believe in this so much, Gary.
yeah,
I wrote down back in 2017 when we were trying to have a baby, and I wrote down in 2017 that in 2018 I would have a healthy baby. I actually put baby boy. I don't know why. Like whatever, it didn't matter whether it was a boy or a girl. And we had our baby boy in January 2019.
Yeah.
And I look back at that, and it just blows my mind that that was so close. But everything, when I look back at I love looking back at the journal that I started. Definitely when we started out on the real estate journey as well, because there's not there's not many things that have not been ticked other than some kind of turns on. I realized I didn't want, something that I put down maybe. But it's incredible when you write these things down. It's unbelievable.
It is a superpower, and if you have that focus of that target to aim
Yeah.
for.
And I wanted to just add something quickly in case this helps anybody right now, because the world that we're living in, and the amount of, it's not really social media anymore, it's interest media. So you show one little bit of interest in anything and that's all you're going to get shown. If anybody is feeling any negativity, but yeah, we end up doom scrolling and looking at his phone. I did something a little while back, a couple of months back, and I was just so surprised at the change. So I was following, this is particularly Instagram, I was following, I don't know, about 1,300 people. And there was a few people on there that made me actually feel very negative. It was a lot of doom and gloom, a lot about the real estate world as well. But I couldn't help but to watch it because I wanted to know what they were saying as well. But it really actually was getting to me. And I decided to completely clear my Instagram because I'm really focusing on delivering on like communication and leadership skills. So I just got rid of loads of people. I put it onto another Instagram page that I've got, so I can still follow them, but I'm not looking at it much. But literally within that one day of doing that and getting rid of all these people, my world suddenly changed within one day. And
yeah.
I didn't realize the power of just what I was looking at. And I was suddenly happier. I wasn't thinking as negative and, I wasn't as risk averse. It was just, I was back to my normal self. And so if anybody's going through that, just think about the power of, kind of having a cull on your social media. It really can change your reality.
Yeah, very true. It's so powerful. I mean, listen, like the economy does not have to be your economy.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can create your own economy if you decide to, but you have to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So I want to go back on diving into leadership. So tell us about your leadership journey more. Were you leading people directly when you were at TD? And how did that translate and have the importance of where you are now in your real estate world? I'm going to assume, Gary, that leadership comes quite naturally to you. That seems to be how it comes across, but Has there been any turning points in your throughout your life and your career where you've realized that how you were showing up is not giving the impact that actually you want to get?
Yeah, it might appear that leadership came easy to me, but it wasn't anything that I pursued. It was something that I was put into in different roles when I was at TD. At first I was on the front line, then after that they promoted me to team lead. And then they promoted me to manager. Then I got promoted to incident or shift manager. And but it was never my choice. It was more like, hey, we think you would be good in this position. And so it was almost like I was kind of flowing down the river of life, even though I was kind of moving in maybe a place that I wanted to. It wasn't like it was my choice or that I was something that I was pursuing because I never believed in myself that I was right for those roles until somebody then believed in me. So then now where I am today, when I am in this leadership role that I'm in, and I do enjoy it, but I also realize that it is an honor to be able to do that, and I am humbled by it because it wasn't something that I actually pursued. Is that now when I'm talking to people, I'm always telling them to bet on themselves because nobody else will bet on you. Bet on yourself. Be the version that is better than the version of who you were yesterday. And so that's really the path or the story that I have is that I never believed in myself in the beginning. And I wish I did. But it's not until, sometimes you have to go through, I don't know, the journey of it to then realize that, no, I have to bet on myself, which is what I've done.
Amazing.
Mm.
And how important is just leadership in specifically when we talk about real estate? And like even down to the fact of somebody buying the first property, managing a property, an investment property. What are your thoughts on that?
On how important leadership is.
Hmm.
Leadership in, I think, just maybe just in your life. Leadership doesn't always have to mean that there are people that are following you. I think you can also just lead a strong life just by listening to other people who motivate you, who inspire you to be a better version of yourself. I think that can just be leadership in itself. And then sometimes what ends up happening is that people then want to follow you or listen to you, you know? And so that's what I've done throughout the years is help to inspire others. And anytime I'm doing my podcast, look, I don't have a massive following on my podcast or even on social media. But my philosophy is if there's only one person listening to me and it changes their life, then I've done something good that day. That's it. That's all I'm always ever looking for. Just that one person I think the goal is to be in people's testimonials. It's always service to many. That's what I'm always trying to achieve, right? It's that. Like thank you for allowing me to believe in myself, or thank you for that tip, or thank you for that idea. Because those ideas that I'm always sharing, whether it be on social media or in my newsletters or whatever it may be, is something that inspired me. And I'm like, let me see if that inspires somebody else.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mm.
Pass it on. I love that.
It is, yeah. I've just got one more question, Gary. Something we talk about a lot, and it's kind of a big, well, it's becoming a big thing at the moment, is psychological safety in a work environment, in a business environment, and it's just being in an environment where you can admit mistakes, you can admit failings, you can express concerns, you can challenge the norm. Throughout your career from corporate, in your real estate journey, even on your podcasts, do you do anything in particular to make sure that whether it be a guest on the podcast or someone that's working at the brokerage with you, that they feel that that environment is good enough for them to bring great ideas, even if they're not ones that come to fruition, but not to be scared to express ideas and not to be scared to challenge something that just doesn't seem right?
I encourage people to make mistakes. I actually encourage it. It's not so much to make mistakes, but to make a decision and not worry about it. Like just to do the journey because mistakes will happen. So even like the agents that are on my team, I'm like, don't be scared. The more mistakes that you make, that means that you're trying. That means that you're doing something. It's better to do something than nothing. So, so, so I tell this to my kids as well too, is that, you know what the beautiful thing about life is that there is no losing. There's only winning or learning.
Yeah.
So now whether that's right or wrong, it doesn't matter because I believe it. And so then I say, then you believe that. Believe that philosophy that you can only win or learn. If you choose to get rid of the word losing and say somebody made up this word that is not even real, then that now becomes your reality. And so then, and I say it all the time, like, I've never lost before. I've only learned or I've
Yeah.
won.
Mhm.
And so then when you have that, it's such an incredible way to live life because then you're always smiling or you're like, what an incredible thing I just learned. Even though I may have fallen flat in my face, but wow, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Now I can
Thanks for
teach
that.
that to somebody else. And I always say that people that make the most mistakes should be on stage all the time. So that's
Yeah.
why sometimes I'm on stage because I make a ton of mistakes.
Everybody does.
That's amazing.
Everybody
Amazing.
does. Everybody does.
So, just kind of like as a final thought, and if you've got anything else to add as well, please feel free. But for any of our members, and obviously your members that have joined, we've got a nice crowd from your side as well here. For anybody who may feel like they're capable, like where they are in their, in their journey right now, whether this is something that they're tackling in the corporate career or in the real estate career, whatever it is, but they feel capable, but they're being held back by some kind of fear, uncertainty, or self-doubt. What is one perspective or reminder that you wish you might have heard early on in your journey, or something to inspire them to kind of keep moving forward?
I mean, I think I'll go back to this again. I think it's fear. Fear is the compass that you should be focusing on. If you're fearful of something that you're supposed to be, you should be leaning into that. I don't think your gifts are in what comes easy to you. I think your gifts are where you are challenged the most because that is where you do the best sculpting. You think of anybody who does sculpting or chiseling out like a beautiful art piece from a piece of stone. The gift is the chiseling out, the art of doing that to getting it to a place where it's where your gift is. So that's where I say that it is. It's always leaning into fear. It's always that's the compass. Because when you're not in fear, well, then you're not growing. So you should always be in fear in some point, and then you can pull back a bit, and then you can grow again into fear. And so I would say that that's one that's important. Um, yeah, I think that's always what it is.
Mm. I love that. I think there's a real learning to just kind of be there every day and get used to uncomfortableness. And eventually, the more that you get used to that feeling of being uncomfortable, it just becomes a normal feeling and it's no longer uncomfortable. And there, I look at it as, the kind of the steps going up to that next level of uncomfortable. I've got to tackle that till that becomes normal now. And then there's another level after that to the point where you feel like we look back now on our journey and think, wow, like, gosh, we were scared to death about 6 years ago of a lot of things that were going on, and now it's just the norm.
We will, but you just, for some reason, when you look at what you want to achieve, it seems so far away. And then you just take that one step. And then when you do get to that journey, you look back and you think, did I really get to here?
Yeah.
How did all that happen? But it just did. You just seem to have this strength every morning to wake up and go again and go again and go again. And then before you know what's happened, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you're looking back thinking, how did that happen? I
Yeah.
never thought I'd get to this point, but you should take it off chunks at a time.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, it's so
Uh,
true. Think about when you were like 16 years old. Maybe you had a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and something didn't go right, and you're like, God, if you can get me out of this problem, I swear I'm going to go to church for the rest of my life. And then you look back and you're like, that wasn't much. That was nothing. And
Yeah,
that is the story of your life as you go on. Like you look back and you're like, yeah, that wasn't that big a deal. I accomplished that. I was able to achieve it. Like you are still alive because you've overcome every obstacle that life has thrown at you.
mhm.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
because if not, then
exactly.
you wouldn't be here. And so anybody that's listening right now, you've overcome every obstacle. So then what would make you think that you can't overcome even bigger ones that are ahead of you?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, I'm just going to add something there. I'm reading a book at the minute by Ed Milet. It's called The One More. And what he's more or less saying is you're literally one phone call, one meeting, one chat, one Zoom call away from getting you where you want to be. But so many people just don't get to that point and just kind of call it too soon or quit too soon. But everything can change in one instance, for the positives. So we always think like, okay, you're trying to get somewhere with it's there, it's within touching distance. You just need that one one thing to happen that can change everything.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
if you tackle life with exactly like you said there, you either win or you learn, and you tackle life from a place of curiosity and learning and asking questions. For me personally, not only did that get me out of a lot of fears that I had and that kind of internal spiraling and being in my own head, that it helped me so much
Mm.
with thinking about the curiosity. Well, how can I help people? And it really comes back to, the pillars that we talk about. And I think from knowing you, Gary, and just from this interview, you're you're very self-aware. That's kind of really, what we can pull from this. But it's also about having empathy to look at things from other people's point of view, developing the communication skills that you need to be able to influence people for the greater good and to be able to provide clarity, but then also doing that with integrity.
Mm.
And they're really the four key pillars that we focus on
Yeah.
throughout this. So you've been a shining example, Gary, of exactly what we try and get to with this. So thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us.
You're
And I really
welcome.
hope it's been good for your members as well to, see a different style of interview and a different look on things. So
Well, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. And thank you very much for the interview. And I hope people that are on it here have enjoyed it. And I mean, look, I don't know how much time we have left, but I mean, if anybody has any questions for me, I'm an
yeah, we've got
open
10 minutes.
book.
We have
I
10
mean,
minutes.
I'm more than happy to answer any question that somebody may have, or maybe there's something that they're going through and they're not sure how to get through it. And if it's something I can answer, I'd be more than happy to,
Yeah.
you know?
If anybody wants to ask, you're more than welcome to take yourself off mute.
Or
Yeah.
throw it in the chat, whichever.
Yeah, yeah. You throw it in the chat or unmute yourself. I would say while somebody's maybe thinking about a question, I think probably one of the best things that I ever did was start a podcast. Now you don't have to do anything extravagant. You can just, have a mic and a camera. They're relatively cheap, and that also helped me build courage and allowed me to not have to know things, but be able to ask questions. Just ask questions out of curiosity of somebody who was where I wanted to be. Like what an incredible way to grow. So that's one of the my favorite things that I've done. I think
Amazing.
Anne's got a question there, but yeah.
And go ahead, take yourself off mute.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Anne, how are you?
I'm good. Just on camera. I don't have any makeup on.
No problem. No problem.
Um, I've built three chalets and a mini Nordic spa, and
Nice.
it's finished. And I'm having a really hard time getting to the finish, I guess. For instance, the website's being done, but I have to choose a platform to get it on. I have to choose like a web platform. I have to choose a third-party management system because the one I have for our current short-term rental is overpriced and underwhelming.
Yep.
And I'm just having a hard time getting up every day and just getting it done.
Who's your partner, or do you have a team, or is it just you?
It's me and hubby. Hubby's the contractor, so he's no good with any admin or raising money or any of that stuff.
Here's one of the things that I did in the beginning. And I don't know if you've ever done this before, but a lot of realtors, they'll do what's called DISC analysis. So DISC. There's different ones out there, but really we all kind of fall into different categories. So D is driver, I is like influencers, vision, S is like systems and processes, C is like little more cautious, calculated. Me and my wife did that, and anybody that joins my team, I have them do the analysis. Where I'm going with this is that you got to figure out what your genius is. And so you're having a difficult time because maybe you're doing something that you're not good at, or your strength doesn't lie in there. And then you got to figure out what your husband is really good at as well too, because then maybe that the pieces that you're struggling with is you may have to hire somebody to help you and assist you in that part of the business that you're trying to complete. When I look at the businesses that I have right now, there's certain things that I'm good at, and there's a lot of things that I'm not good at. And I would say that's common for most people. Most people are not good at many things. They're good at
Hmm.
a few different things. And so
Right.
you have to figure out where your strengths are and focus on that, and what you're not good at, either have somebody else do for you. And I've learned that, partnerships and building businesses, it allows you to grow when you have the right people around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I have thought of that, but we've run out of funds until oh, I'm working on something that's coming in probably hopefully in the next few weeks, but I need to get this done
So,
now.
so then, you know what you do then? Maybe become good friends with ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah, start asking it questions. It'll help map out a few things that you need to do. I mean, it's
Okay.
incredible what AI can do now. It's incredible.
I would
Yeah,
add to
so,
that,
so
Gary. I was just thinking that myself. So we've been through a similar thing, because both Nigel and I are not that good with technology, um,
Mm,
and it really stressed me out. But I had to kind of step in and try and figure things out. But we ended up like it took some work, but we got a VA that was a little better at it than us. I still had to
Yeah.
manage it, but
hmm.
going through that, like we use the Kajabi platform and going through learning how to set everything up and get everything going, I found it very stressful, and I never thought I'd come to the end of it. But now looking back, I've learned it and I've
Mm,
done it and I'm more comfortable. It was that next step, but I did reach out and I did get some help to get me going with that. But
mm,
something that's been a huge help to me, I use ChatGPT, but I also use Claude AI. It's about
Mm,
$50 a month. And I find that Claude AI is brilliant because it's really good at coding. It's very good at helping you answer like questions and talk you through something. So, as for example, Kajabi is also a platform where you can build your website and everything, which we've done on there. I can
mm,
say to Kajabi, I need a new landing page creating for this, and it will create it and give me the code in. And then I'll say
mm,
to it, right, I ain't got a clue what to do with that. Tell me what to do in Kajabi, and it'll talk me through exactly where to go. And when I
okay.
say I haven't got that, it'll say, give me a screenshot of what you can see. And I'll take a screenshot and just attach it in Claude AI, and it's been incredible.
And
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
even with stuff like that with systems though, like with the VA that we got, you can get. I mean, our VA was getting we're going for a few hours a day just to help us, just to get through that initial phase of whether it be a month, 2 month, 3 month, just to have that resource there to go to until you're in that
Hmm.
position where you're stabilized and you've got that knowledge of it, and then obviously you can take it over yourself.
Or just have more stuff for the VA to
Or
do.
just have more stuff for the VA to do.
Yeah.
Which
No,
is in my case
those are
probably
really
better.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good tips for sure.
Okay.
Use
Great.
Hibbert.
Thank
I
you.
hope that was a little helpful, Anne.
Thanks.
You'll get there. You got this.
Thanks.
hey,
Any
Gary,
other
hey,
last
hey,
questions? Oh,
yeah, Gary, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
yeah,
Yep.
can hear you well.
Yeah, yeah, and I was just listening to what you were saying there, and we're going through the same thing. We're building out all our web pages, and what I found was incredible AI for sure. So we're dealing with somebody that he does this sort of on the side, and we gave him a breakdown of everything we need in the sites. Mission statement, vision statement, the audience, raising capital, and in about 2 hours, he came back with a site that my logo now is animated. It grows and moves. I was like, holy smokes, how did you do that so quickly? And he's using all AI tools. So it'd be good for you to create a structure, create a form, that states everything that you want to do and really find somebody that can utilize AI. And it can be done in a heartbeat. And when he came back to us saying, well, I need this and this from you, we just popped it into AI, and AI created our mission statement, our vision, everything in literally a click of a mouse. And then now we've pushed it back to him. So he's coming back to create the 3 websites that we're starting to generate. So definitely use AI. I mean,
Okay.
that's definitely something you should look into for sure.
I
100.
did use AI for the mission statement. Um, didn't take that long. I do have somebody doing the website, but he's certainly not as fast as yours. Some
Yeah,
of it's been my
you know what's
delay.
interesting? What's interesting, Anne, is we use this person for our security systems for our property. So whenever we buy a property, we put security in, alarm, cameras to our phone. So he's actually working at that company, but he's so savvy, he's doing this job on the side, and he realizes that this is his specialty. So we're bartering with each other. I'm not even paying him to do it. I'm helping him with his businesses to grow his businesses since we have expertise there, and he's giving us our web page. So it's just interesting what you can find out there. You know,
Mm,
everybody's struggling, everybody's trying to find money, capital. So if
mm,
you could barter, swap
okay.
ideas and those sorts of things, you could
Okay.
go a long way. I mean, this network is good. Like there's a few people on the call here, but now we're part of a network ecosystem that we
Right.
can work with each other to help each other grow in all these different ways.
Yeah, that's awesome, Colin. Thanks for sharing that.
Very cool.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for your question, Ann. Any other
No
questions? I
worries.
guess maybe we got 2 minutes left, or unless you guys want to wrap it up, you let me know.
We can take
No?
another, if there's
Yeah,
anybody
any more
got a
questions?
direct
Yeah.
question, we can take one and then we'll do a quick wrap up. Unless we're good. Okay. Well, I did want to say again, thank you so much, Gary. This has been incredible. I did want to let people know because we have a lot of people on the call that are not members from our side. If this is something that you would like to know more about from the Leadership in Life coaching standpoint, please reach out to Nigel and I. We can be found on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Probably Facebook is like a big place where a lot of people in the real estate world go. But what our membership looks like, just to give you a little bit of background, is we do weekly mini leadership sessions. So they're usually on Tuesdays, the little mini lunch and learns, 15 to 20 minutes. And then every other week, usually it's not set in stone, we'll do a guest speaker, pretty much the same as this one. And the idea is really to interview people who've been successful in their career journeys, whatever that looks like, and really help other people see patterns in themselves that might be holding them back and really start to understand their own self-awareness journey. So that's what our membership looks like. We interview a lot of CEOs and executives from businesses. We've been in Fortune 500 companies in leadership roles ourselves throughout our career. So it's a lot of our network as well. But that's what it looks like from our side. We truly believe that this was a big help for us to take into our real estate journey, because at the end of the day, wherever you go and whatever scenario you're in, you take yourself with you onto that next step. So we believe that the most important thing to learn about is yourself, and the elements of your own personality that's helping you and that's not. So that's what we're really trying to teach in this. So thank you again, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
For coming on, and
You're
thank you
welcome.
everybody for joining and for the questions. This has been brilliant. So yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I enjoyed it, and thank you guys for having me on doing this. And I hope everybody that's on the call was able to maybe get at least one or two little tidbits of information and use it in their life. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Okay.
discipline
Thank you.
discipline equals freedom. Discipline
Discipline
equals
equals
freedom.
freedom.
Oh, I like that.
I like it.
Yeah. Nice one to end on. Boom. Mic drop.
All right,
Okay.
guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody.
Thank you.